"Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." Her voice didn't shake. Though the billionaire's smirk dared her to falter, every eye in the diner froze on the black waitress standing tall in her worn uniform, facing a man who could buy the whole block with his pocket change. What no one knew was that this wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning. The diner's neon lights hung above her as Jasmine wiped down the counter for the 100th time. That morning, the smell of burnt coffee and frying bacon clung to her skin, but she didn't mind. It was honest work that kept her mother's medicine paid for, and the lights on in their small apartment. She had learned long ago that respect wasn't given freely, it was earned, and sometimes it was fought for. The man had walked in just before noon, his suit sharp, his watch flashing gold every time he moved. His name was Richard Vale, the kind of name that came with private jets and headlines. He ordered without looking at her, tossing his words like they were tips she should be grateful for. The first comment had been subtle, the second sharper, the third unmistakable. The air in the diner thickened. People noticed but kept their heads down. No one wanted trouble with money like his. Jasmine stood still, her hands resting lightly on the counter. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." Gasps rippled through the room. Richard laughed. A short, cold sound. "Do you have any idea who I am?" She didn't answer. She just pointed to the door. Her silence was her shield. Jasmine wasn't new to men like him. Years ago, before the uniform and the long shifts, she had worn fatigues and carried a radio through the desert heat. She had served overseas, patching up wounded soldiers in a medic's tent while explosions lit up the night. She had learned the weight of holding a man's hand as his breathing slowed. She had learned that courage was not noise, it was standing your ground when every muscle wanted to run. Those years had taken friends from her, faces she still saw when she closed her eyes. A part of her had stayed in that desert, under a sky that never forgot what it had seen. Now, she fought smaller battles, but battles all the same. Richard's voice rose, filling the diner. "I could have you fired before you finish your next sentence." But Jasmine didn't flinch. She stepped forward, calm, unblinking. "Respect is free, sir. You just can't seem to afford it." For a moment, silence wrapped the room. Even the hum of the neon seemed to fade. Richard's smirk faltered. But before he could respond, the door swung open. An older man stepped in, silver hair, withered face, eyes that had seen both boardrooms and battlefields. He carried himself not with the arrogance of wealth, but the weight of history. "Richard," the man said, his voice steady, outside. "Now." Richard froze. "Dad." The man's gaze cut through him, and then he turned to Jasmine. "Miss, I'm sorry. My son forgets that money can't buy the right to mistreat people. Thank you for reminding him." Richard's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. He left with his father, the door's bell jingling like a full stop at the end of a long sentence. The diner was still for a moment, and then chairs scraped back. People stood not in applause, but in quiet respect. A nod here, a soft thank you there. Jasmine didn't smile, but inside a small warmth bloomed. She knew this moment wasn't about her winning against him, it was about reminding everyone. Watching that dignity doesn't bend to power. Sometimes, she thought, the loudest voice in the room is the one that refuses to shout. That night, as she locked up, she saw the older man's car parked across the street. He stepped out, holding a folded letter. "This," he said, handing it to her, "is from a father who failed to raise his son to respect people like you. But maybe today you raised him instead." Inside was a simple note. "Thank you for your service both then and now." Along with it, a check not for silence, but for support. Enough to cover her mother's treatments for the next year. Jasmine didn't cry until she was alone. Not because of the money, but because someone had seen her, not the uniform, not the role, but her. And in that quiet, she whispered a line she would carry forever. Dignity is not given by the wealthy. It is kept by the brave. There are moments when silence is the sharpest sword. When standing your ground without raising your voice becomes the loudest statement in the room. Jasmine's story is a reminder that respect is a right, not a privilege, and those who hold onto their dignity, even in the face of power, change the world in ways they may never see. Wherever you are in the world, tell us in the comments, what would you have done in her place? And if this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to remember the strength of silent courage.